Hello, my name is Arja Martikainen and I work for North Star Talent, which is one of the brands of Barona. And North Star is a Nordic recruitment brand, and we are serving our customers in all the Nordic countries and in the Baltics. And today we will be speaking about international recruitment and especially about the Philippines, which has been not that well known to the Finnish IT scene until now, but there is more and more interest, like acquiring people from the Philippines, and we have some cases already live and kicking here in Finland, and then hopefully also in the other Nordic countries soonish. But there are a lot of Filipinos that have come through to Finland all through the years, more than a decade already. And today I have Mr. Aris Metin here,
Hello.
straight from Manila.
That's right.
Is that correct? So like you're from Manila in some of the districts. Manila is a huge city.
Of course, Metro Manila is how we call it. It's
Yeah.
comprised of 8 big cities.
Yes.
So, hi everyone. I'm Aris Metin from the Philippines. My company is EDI Staff Builders International. It's a 42-year-old company engaged in international recruitment. And just like what Arya said, we have began our recruitment of IT professionals to this part of the world, and we'd like to talk more about this today.
Yes, and also getting back a little bit to the history. So there is actually quite a long history with Barona and its predecessors, like especially op team in the past. So when did you first bumped up to Finns and the collaborators that you have at the moment in Finland?
Well, our relationship started with Opteam more than 10 years ago,
Yeah.
and now it is called Barona.
Yes.
We started the relationship recruiting cooks and chefs, and began recruiting nurses, practical nurses through the years. To date, I think we have sent over more than 400 cooks and chefs,
All right.
and also equally the same number of nurses.
All right. That sounds like quite a big number, like handsome number already until now. And now we started few years back. I think it was like we happened to meet someone who came. He said that actually he came 3.5 years back from the Philippines to work in a Finnish IT company.
That's right.
And then we've been doing like these gigs every now and then after that, even during COVID. So
That's right. Well, our engagement in IT recruitment started only very recently. I could say before the pandemic,
Yes.
2018,
Yes.
2019. As you said, the Philippines is not yet well known as a source of IT experts. And hopefully that this new recruitment that we have been doing
Yeah.
very recently will open up the doors
Yeah.
in introducing Filipino IT experts to
Yes.
the Nordic countries.
To the Nordic countries, exactly. And just to open up a little bit the numbers, like the resources available in the Philippines. So I have a couple of figures in my mind, so I'm just throwing them from top of my head now. But I know that like a few thousands, less than 5,000 people graduate from the Finnish schools, Finnish IT related instances each year. And maybe half of them want to program. But then I have like, for example, this number of 137,000 Filipinos graduate from the technical schools, and practically half of them want to program something. So is this anything close, or is it bigger at the moment? What is your latest understanding about this?
First of all, the Philippines has 1.4 million workers that is engaged in IT and knowledge process outsourcing. 1.4 million that gives about $30 billion revenue to the
Yes.
country. This is 11% of our GDP.
Okay.
In terms of graduates,
Yes.
since 2017, the average number of new graduates is
Yeah.
about 75,000 to 80,000
To
per year.
programming. Yes. Yes. And other technical people on top. Yes.
That's right. So when we say 80,000, these are um, graduates of focused IT related degrees,
Yeah.
collegiate, university level.
Yes.
This number doesn't include those in the technical or vocational courses.
Yes. Of
Yes.
course.
So your number of 137 is quite
Quite
quite true,
quite appropriate
quite
there.
appropriate.
Yes, yes. Then I also like picked up the numbers in the Nordics, so that how many people are actually working in IT in Finland, Sweden, and Denmark, and it's exactly. Today, 81,000 people work in Finland, then 166,000 in Sweden, and 88,000 in Denmark. So Finland and Denmark are pretty much even, but Sweden is double the size. But when we get to the next topic, so when we will talk about bit about the shortage. So there was like that. Within next couple of years, Finland needs like from 7 to 9,000 new people, and Sweden would need even like 70,000, like which sounds like really big number, but this seems to be like quite accurate. And then Denmark would need even 19,000. So there must be some reasoning behind that, but these are like collected information from instances that know about this much more than I do. So, but there is a huge lack of workforce there, and of course, like Filipinos have shown like good motivation, good background. They speak English. There are many positive things that are related to them, and that's how we find that they would be very interesting resource to Finland and to the other Nordic countries also. So one thing that I realized is that education there in the Philippines, you need to pay for the bachelor's and master's degrees. Is that correct?
That's right. There is free education only until high school.
Yes.
If you want to go to college or university, there are also state-run
Yeah.
universities, but they are very selective,
Yes.
and the screening process is strict. But there are a lot of private universities and colleges offering IT degrees, and this is where maybe about 80% of the graduates, high school graduates, would
Yeah.
opt to go to.
Yeah.
And yes, you're right. It's money out of our pockets, out of
Yeah.
our parents' pockets,
Yes.
that finance the education of
Yeah.
the children.
Yeah.
So this is one of the motivation of a Filipino to work abroad, giving his immediate family, maybe his brother and sister, uh, if he is able to work in the Nordic countries, he will be able to send more money.
Yeah.
So it's really the motivation
Yeah.
to keep education running within the
Yeah.
family.
Yeah. And then if you have acquired, for example, a bachelor degree there in the Philippines, so here, like as we know in Finland, so we pay all the education through the taxation quite efficiently. So it is possible to roll into the local polytechnics and universities and do it, for example, alongside your work.
That's true.
Yeah.
So yesterday we had a reunion with our IT recruits in one of the companies here, and one of them expressed the interest to pursue a master's degree or a
All
doctoral
right.
degree here.
Yes.
And I think he is even more pumped up to really pursue this seriously because he knew that the educational system, postgraduate educational system here, is affordable and accessible.
Yes, and also like the technologies are to the point.
That's right.
So really up to date education. So that has been one of the motivations why Filipinos would like to come to the Nordics.
And there are many more reasons.
Yeah, yeah,
Arya.
yes,
So, like again, during our reunion, one of them talked about work-life balance, and this notion of work-life balance in the Philippines is quite a blur,
yeah,
right? So, we talk about work-life balance,
yes,
but in the Philippines, we normally stay in the office 10, 12 hours a day, primarily because traffic is horrible. For us to go to work, we would spend at least 2 hours on the road
yes,
just to
one
get to
way.
work one way.
Yes,
And then going back home, another 2 hours. And so 8 hours plus four, that's already 12 hours.
yes,
And you cannot do anything while you're in the traffic.
yes,
Where the internet in the Philippines is not as as accessible as well, and we pay for it per gigabyte, so it's also really expensive. So it's time wasted in traffic alone.
yes, and this is because of high density of
That's
population,
true.
and then certain like infrastructure is not like that up to date. But of course, like you are building your country really quickly, and you will be up to date someday. I'm
Hopefully,
so sure.
hopefully that will
So
happen.
hardworking people there. So, but it takes time, and of course to manage like such a big number of people, it's
That's true.
laborers.
And going back to work-life balance, I think our notion of work-life balance is much defined now,
Yeah,
especially for us who have been in
yeah,
Finland or other parts of Europe. We see that you have time to have vacation, which is like normal to you.
yeah.
For us to have a vacation, it really takes a lot of approval process,
Yes.
and it's also compensated. Your vacation is compensated. From our side in the Philippines, our vacation are again out of our pockets.
All right.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of expensive.
Yeah.
So, and at the same time, you have time to go to the gym, join clubs, pursue your other interests, or just even relax going to the countryside or enjoying nature,
Yes.
which we are not able to do in the Philippines, primarily because we are focused on working and having overtime and bringing more money to the family.
Yes. So there are many actually quite big differences. So, but it's always like fascinating to go to Manila and to see all the busy people there, and so
All busy and still very smiling,
yes,
smiling and
yes,
happy, and
yeah,
and always sharing jokes
yeah,
and open to
yeah.
any foreigners.
Yes, exactly. And I just like always say that Filipinos are equally nerds than as anyone else, like in the IT sector, like and still like one of the nicest people to work with. So
So
despite of your somehow like a stressful life, as it sounds like. So
yeah, that's true.
yeah, maybe we should walk through the process, like how to get here. And of course, you are there sitting by your desk in Manila, and then I'm typing, or somebody from us is like sending you a message saying that, hey, we have this customer who needs this and this. So what happens next when I send like some vague few liners that, all right, we need C# developers, or we need Python developers, or we need this or that. So usually I think we start with the meeting with the customer.
Our recruitment end-to-end cycle is pretty much well defined, and it's applicable to just about any recruitment campaign we do in
Yeah.
any part of the world.
Yes.
So for Finland, um, while we begin our discussions with the client
Yeah.
or the prospect, the most basic requirement for us is the job description, which should be as detailed as possible. If information about compensation
Yes.
is available, that would be also helpful. as we begin our search.
Yes.
And while we do the initial search from our database,
Yeah.
formal search only begins when the client has signed up with Barona and
Yes.
has began the accreditation process
Yes.
in the Philippines. Overseas recruitment of Filipinos is a highly regulated industry in the
Exactly.
Philippines,
Yes. This is
and
good to
this is
note.
yes,
Yes.
and this is also made that way to protect the rights of any Filipino wanting to work abroad.
Yeah.
For many years, there have been a lot of cases where the welfare Filipinos, you know, uh, were not uh, was not pursued or followed, and so the Philippine
Yeah.
government is really very strict about this.
Yes. Which is a good thing,
That's true.
actually.
That's true.
Yeah.
And so we at EDI Staff Builders is a proponent of ethical recruitment.
Yes.
And Europe, even before these two words were coined in international recruitment, is doing it already. But in the Philippines, the major market is still some parts of the world where this ethical recruitment is sort of
Kind of like a sticker on top.
sticker on top, or
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
So
And this is very important to us also, because we want to do things right, and we expect also from our counterparts. But you are well known operator in this area, and then you are the go-to company if a candidate, for example, wants to know that they do not, for example, end up paying anything
that's
extra.
true. That's
Yes.
true. So as a proponent of ethical recruitment and then decent work across borders,
Yeah.
which is also a proponent, which is being pursued by the International Labor Organization,
ILO.
the
Yes.
ILO.
Yeah.
Our company has been awarded the Presidential Award of Excellence, which really brings us to a new level of delivering overseas recruitment.
Yes.
So when we say end-to-end process, this ethical recruitment is observed end to end.
Yes.
So it begins with job description, which by now is also being adhered to a template of the new Department of Migrant Workers.
Yes.
So in from this start, we begin the meeting with the prospect or the client to understand more the caliber of talent they need
Yes. And get to know each other and to build trust
to
and
build
all that.
trust,
Yeah.
to clarify things, to manage expectations.
Yes.
Yeah. And then we enter into agreement and we begin the accreditation process, which we very much guide the client how to do it.
Yes.
So we have templates, we have documents that they just need to fill up, submit under the letterhead, give to us for submission to the Department of Migrant Workers.
Yeah, it's actually quite complicated. It's like quite complex process, and Barona is there to help. So we have people that are actually kind of like doing a shortcut for our own customers, and they do not necessarily even see any of this documentation that is done, like in the kind of like in the back office.
That's true.
But we know we know what kind of steps there are. So, but the customers, they basically the next step is that they get the candidates for reviewing, kind of like shortlisting all these steps, and then finally to the testing part, and then to the interviews. Or before testing, there may be interviews, or then after testing, of course, again interviews, and then we are getting closer and closer to the actual approval that, okay, let's continue with this and this or this candidate.
That's right. Of course, we don't want you, Barona, or the clients you represent to be burdened with too much candidates to screen.
Yes,
And
you do.
ideally, our endorsement ratio is only 1:3,
Yes.
which means that for one job opening, we will only shortlist the top three candidates available. So, and therefore, so we are not like manpower pooling
Yeah.
candidates or just getting them off the street.
Yes.
We really adhere to the job description and that they agree to the compensation package. And so that sort of shortcuts the search.
Yeah.
And as you said, the clients are engaged in the selection process as well. On first campaign, we encourage them to go to the Philippines so that they themselves can see the culture,
Yes.
the existing infrastructure in the
Yes.
country, and probably they'll be surprised that
Actually, they've been surprised. One
yeah,
of my clients actually told us. I think you heard it that like he said that he needs to wait for 2 months in Finland, for example, to get the same level candidate or two in front of him, and in the Philippines there was like 20 of them during the week, and he
that's
could have hired pretty much every each of them.
That's right. I remember yesterday we had a conversation that, they publish a job order and they only get two candidates over a period of a month.
Yeah.
And in the Philippines, you'd probably get applicants for this same role for like in a week's time.
Yes.
So that speaks about the potential of IT talents in the Philippines, which we would like to really emphasize
Yeah.
with you and our clients in the region.
Yes.
So we encourage the employer to come to the Philippines to see the culture, to see that our infrastructure is very much at par with
Yeah.
Europe.
Yes.
We are the texting capital of the world.
Yes.
Almost everybody has mobile phones, and actually with the pandemic, digitalization was accelerated in the Philippines. Online shopping, e-commerce, B2B exploded in the
Yeah.
Philippines as we reverted to working from home.
Yeah.
And with this also came the development of new skills in this field that
Yes.
your clients
Yeah.
can possibly recruit for.
Yes. And then another thing that has been very interesting to the clientele is that, like, because due to your history, you have a linkage with Spain,
That's
like
true.
many hundred years so of common history. Then there has been other links, but the latest one that is very strong is US type of education system.
That's right, Arya. Um, we can say that the Philippines is Asian, but our history made us a boiling pot of many cultures. And yesterday when we were talking with our IT recruits, they were saying that if they look at the other Asia, I mean, this is nothing
Yeah.
negative, but we feel that our culture is really a concoction of Western Asian,
Yes.
right? Historically, we were under Spain for 400 years, and we are happy with this.
Yeah.
They gave us
Yeah.
Catholicism.
Yeah.
92% of our population of 110 are
It's Catholic.
Christians,
Yes.
are believers,
Yeah.
are Catholics, and so our value system is revolving around this belief.
And very compatible, like
Yes,
to most of the European countries, for example, or to North America.
under the USA, they developed our educational system, which is why up to now our educational system is based on US standards. There are only two language that we use at school, which Tagalog, which is our national language, and English.
Yes.
So almost all our textbooks and libraries are in English.
And and when we are talking about 110 million nation, so it's a lot of English speakers there.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And then what I noticed also, like while reading the CVs of the candidates, there was a lot of, actually, many of them worked for companies that came from places like Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, Japan, North America. Sometimes even I saw like glimpses of Denmark or other European countries. People have been overseas. They've been traveling around. They've been living or even studying abroad. So very, very international background.
When we start looking for work, we usually start with neighboring countries, those who are away maybe 2, 3 hours
Yeah,
on flight.
yeah,
Still, Europe is really a very good alternative for us to look into because as I've said, the quality of life is really very ideal.
yeah. And everybody knows like how much you need to pay for your education, for example, in the US. So we
That's
have a
right.
certain advantage.
That's right.
And also work-life balance seems
Yes.
to be quite right here.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that we feel that there's a connection because you also speak English,
Yes.
and we value family, and we believe that you also value family.
Yes.
You're a family-oriented country as well.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of connection,
Yes.
basic connection that hopefully can grow
Yeah.
as we do our international recruitment for you.
Yeah. And if we walk through the process to the end, so when the person has been selected, so then we start the arrangements of relocation. And you have also some of the certain part of the bureaucracy is done by you. Then there is in our case the Finnish local Finnish consulate is involved, where we get nowadays really like quickly all the residence permits, work permits and residence permits. That's the same thing basically, and then off they go. They come to Finland by plane. So I think that the average run-through time would be around like 14 weeks.
Our average recruitment, I mean, to bring a Filipino to Finland is about 3 months.
But in
And
IT, maybe, no, yeah.
3, 4 months.
Yeah.
That includes the notice period of usually 30 days if
Yes.
he's employed in the
Yeah.
Philippines. All the processes and procedures that need to be complied to in the Philippines are handled by us.
Yes.
And our counterpart here, all the processes and procedures are handled by you.
Yes.
So, and then we integrate these processes, which makes all the processes kind of fluid.
Very smooth.
And I think
Yes.
the success factor there is our communication.
Yeah.
While there is a time difference, we are always there to answer your emails, to make follow up,
Yes, I can tell you that you are really good in this.
and technology, cell
Yeah.
phones, mobiles,
Yes.
and it always is. If there's a very good business partnership, this things will really be going smoothly.
Yes.
Right? And there's transparency,
Yeah.
full disclosure, which are very important in ethical recruitment.
Yes. And when coming to Finland, so we are using Finland relocation services here that look for the apartments and take care of all the basics. And they have also a huge network in Europe and also elsewhere, how they can help people, for example, to relocate to Sweden or Denmark or just name it.
That's right.
So they are very good in this, and I can say that the latest ones, latest newbies, they were housed, like they found their places like in record time, which was like really happy thing to do, because then they can concentrate to their work, like basically from the day two, and all the like relocation process at this end includes all the banks and posts and like registrations and where to find this or where to find that, and how to live in your apartment, all kinds of practicalities. We help in many ways, and then also follow up for the first year. So what's going on, and of course we have a certain type of like agreements with the customers, but we will keep on following up for a year.
Relocation is a big deal,
Yes.
especially for a Filipino going to a new
Yeah.
continent, and they shouldn't be worrisome of where to live
Yeah.
or who picks them up
Yes.
and how to get to work. And that's also one of the major pluses uh, to live and work here in Finland and in other parts of Europe, because the transportation system really works and accessible,
Yes.
which is not the way designed in the Philippines, but we're going to be that way
Yeah.
as well. So that takes away the stress, that takes away the waste of time that we were talking in the beginning of this interview, that takes away idle time when you're in traffic.
Yes.
And so you have more time to really be more productive.
Yes, and also like rest and like uh, do something else also during your daytime. Yeah. So yeah, it's these things really work well at this end, and people have been sometimes even surprised that okay, I have so much time, like, and I can do other things also. All right. Anything else that comes to your mind about this subject? So I think we covered pretty much all of this. Maybe if we get back to the communication part. So one thing that I want to ask by myself is that we always try to explain very clearly to the candidate that what is happening here, where they are, what is the city, for example, to which they are ending at, and then also what happens here, how the taxation goes, what does the social security mean, what does the whole setup mean to the family if there is family members coming on board. So this is a very important part of the success in the future. So let's say that the recruitment, it doesn't end to the decision, so like that, okay, we hire you, but it continues and it takes still many months to integrate. And if we do this carefully, I trust that Filipinos stay for a long time. And actually, many of those that came to Finland, for example, there is only like less than 10% of them that left. And this has been a long process, like over 10 years. So they leave very seldom, actually. They are committed to their employers.
That's right. Loyalty and contentment also comes with the pluses of working in Europe. Um, for example, I just came from a trip to Czech Republic, and it's where we have 8 clients, and I was glad to even meet those that we recruited 10 years ago
Yes,
in Czech Republic.
yes,
And so we hope to, I think even the cooks and chefs and even some of the nurses whom we recruited 10 years ago for up team are still
yeah,
pretty much connected with now Barona.
yeah,
So, once the Filipino talent is really taken care of, they are really loyal and committed. And we are not working abroad as an adventure.
yeah,
Our goal is really to become immigrants or to stay in the country for as long as they allow us legally.
yes.
We are not troublemakers. We, as much as possible, become productive members of society.
Yes, and also in Finland, it's eventually, I know that there are actually quite a many of them that have become citizen have become citizens, and then I've seen even some success stories of them becoming entrepreneurs
That's true. That's true.
later on, like after many years of working in the Finnish companies, which
That's
is
true.
a nice thing. So it talks about like dedication and kind of like integration, real integration.
That's true. And I think it doesn't just talk about the Filipinos now working here.
Yeah,
It also talks. It
yeah,
also shows the kind of change in mindset of their employers of being open to Filipinos as part of their workforce,
yes,
and to be open with, mainly English speaker workers, and eventually they learn Finnish language. And
yes,
so, while our nurses, whom we recruit, learn Finnish language first,
yeah,
and then they get to travel here, learning at least the basic Finnish, to be able to converse in the Finnish language. Our IT start with or carry with them first the expertise,
yeah,
and then learn the Finnish language eventually.
yes,
And this alone will take a lot of change management, working with their colleagues, working with their bosses, because both of us learn from each other's
yeah,
cultures,
yeah,
and there's really a lot of change management and change in mindset that goes along with it, and hopefully it's a positive change.
yeah. All right. I just like I love to thank you very much, Aris, for this conversation.
Thank you as well, Arya, and this has been a very enlightening conversation.
Yes.
And you know, um, in more informal conversations, we know
Yeah.
the Finns and the Filipinos can talk a lot of
Yeah.
topics under
Yes.
the sun,
Yes, we
and
can. We can really like cover everything. So we do not
right.
hesitate. And I hope also like that your first ever visit to Finland. You've been in North before, but like it has been good until now. And then we'll see. We'll meet again.
Definitely.
Thank you very much, everyone.